Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you a very important topic, which is how to secure a website using PHP. Alright, so very important topic for every programmer. Alright, so there are two ways I'm going to be showing you how to secure a website using PHP. Number one, I'm going to be showing you how to use the SQL injection, and number two, I'm going to be showing you how to encrypt password. Now, why SQL injection? Now, it is a technique that attackers use to attack a web or application. Okay, very tricky way that they use to attack a web or application. For example, you can have statement like this. So we just come down to, just have something of this format on your website. In your input, you can have them attackers put something like this. You just put a curly brace, all right? They just put a quote, all right? Then they'll use a statement drop table, and they put a quote, they put a double quote, and they put a semicolon. Now, the moment they click enter, this particular statement can go into our database and drop down our database, drop down and table, destroy our application. All right, so you can also there's so many other statements like this that they actually use to destroy our database. So I'm going to be showing you how to use a particular function which PHP has given us. We call it mysqli _we _escape _string. So this particular function will help us to sanitize the data that's coming in from the input. It sanitizes it and it cleans it up so that we don't have any of these statements coming into our database to destroy our database. Okay, also if you have something like this, let me just clean this up. Okay, so I have something like this, Dayvid's courses are great. Okay, so I have it here, Dayvid courses are great. Okay, now if I submit this particular statement, okay, this particular data, if I click on submit, you see that it gives us an error. Okay, the reason why it's giving us this particular error, the reason why it's giving us this particular error is because of this quote. Okay, this particular quote is the reason why this particular data cannot successfully go into our database. Now, the mysqli _we _escape _string will help us to sanitize this. Okay, so whenever we can also pass in, it helps us to clean up the data, and we can pass in such kind of data into our database, all right, without having to give it an error and something like this. All right, now let's move on to our code. Okay, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click on the notification button. Okay, so anytime I upload new videos like this, you'll always be notified. All right, let's go back to our code. Now, I've already done something similar to this particular topic. So if you just go down to my YouTube channel, go down, you will see that you have PHP code. Okay, now that code is we have the PHP create, PHP read, then update data and delete data on our database. All right, so just go down and look into that video, then you understand what we're actually doing here. All right, now let's move on. Now, firstly, let's go down here and do something. So I'm going to include that function that we have. So we have mysqli _we _escape _string. All right, so we close it up here. Okay, so we're going to have a parenthesis. All right, so two parameters will be passed into this particular parenthesis here. Number one, we're going to be passing the database. Okay, so we're going to be having the connection variable, which is actually connecting our DB to this particular file. So we're going to have connection here. Okay, now if we go down to, let me show you where the connection is actually coming from. So we have db.php right here. So I have connection right here. Okay, so connecting our database. Okay, so we really need to pass that into that particular function. So the second parameter we're going to be having here is the username. So I've just come here and copy this up. Okay, and I'll paste it here. All right, now we are going to copy and paste this down. So next one, I'm going to bring in the password right here. Okay, now after doing this, okay, so we've successfully sanitized the code right there. So we have to pass it to our variable. Okay, so we're going to create a variable. So we're still using the same variable that we used for the initial code. It is username and password. We're going to be using that. So we have username as the variable, then we're going to assign that. Okay, so the second one we're going to use in password, and we assign that here. All right, so what we are actually having here is the real deal, and we are good to go and test our application. All right, okay, so what really happens here is whenever a data comes in, okay, now this real escape string, SQL real escape string goes, the data comes in here and is sanitized using this particular function. That data is sanitized. Okay, so the next thing that happens here, the data now is good to go into our application after the data has been sanitized using this particular function. Okay, so it's successfully, it's free to go into our application without having any errors. Okay, now let's go and test this code. All right, so I'm still going to be using, okay, we have an error on line 9. Okay, let's go check that out quickly. Let's go check that out. An error on line 9. Oh, okay, we forgot to put a semicolon. So let's please put a semicolon here. Very important, please. And let me wrap my code so we can see this properly. Okay, so don't forget to put a semicolon at the end of the to expression. All right, so let's move on, and let's go back and create that. Okay, so I'm going to be using the Dayvid. Oh, sorry. Dayvid courses are great. All right. Okay, so we just put some words, some nonsense word and password, and I will click on submit. Okay, so we see that record create. Now we are free to go to our database to check truly if the record actually went in there. All right, let's move on. I'm so excited to do this, so let's do that. So we're just going to go to localhost my PHP my admin. Okay, then go down to where you have your table. Okay, so I have Dayvid courses are great already in here, and you see our password here. So just to clear our doubts, let's go back to our code, and let me comment on this. Okay, so I love clearing our doubt and all the stuff, and I'll just come here and reload. Okay, all right, just come there and reload this stuff, and I'll just say Peter's courses are awesome. All right, just put a password here. Okay, then click on submit. All right, it gives us an error. Okay, so let's go back to our code and then bring in that same let's go back to our code and uncomment on this. All right, so let's go and reload this. All right, so we just put that Peter's courses are awesome, and we do this again. Then we click on submit. All right, so you see that the record has been created. So we go back to our database. So just come down here. So we have localhost /phpMyAdmin. Then we will load this particular page, and we wait there to see if the record is already there. Okay, now the record is right there. Okay, so that is how to actually sanitize our code using the mysqli_read_ underscore escape underscore string. Now there is no how your attackers can actually drop your code, your database, or do anything crazy on your input if you have this particular function on your application. So that is all you need to know. So the next thing we're going to be doing is password encryption. All right, so just stay tight and let's move on. So we're going to be concentrating on learning how to encrypt a password that users pass into the password feed. Okay, so in such a way that when your users come into the password feed, they put in the password, all right, submit it, then when the data goes into the database, so the password will be encrypted. All right, so the reason why we do this is because attackers might choose not to use the procedure of actually passing in some statement into your application. They might not want to use that particular method to attack your application, so they might want to use the method of searching, getting the username and the password of the user that you have on that application, trying to get the password so they can get access into that particular application or dashboard or user profile. So that's the reason why I'm going to be showing you how to actually encrypt a password. So the attackers, they can put a software on your on this particular page. They can put a software and they'll start passing thousands of users name, thousands of passwords to actually get the right one that we have inside of that particular database. So if you have a password of maybe 123, okay, so they can actually get this kind of password if you don't have your password encrypted right in the database. Now, and this is to tell you that we are not changing the password. The password still remains the password, but the moment we pass it into the database, they will it will be encrypted into some characters, some words, some characters, so many of those characters, some of those words will be right inside the database. Okay, so we are not changing the password, we are just trying to encrypt it so it will be hard for any attacker to actually decode that particular password. All right, so that is all what we are going to be learning in this particular lecture, how to encrypt the password for the users. All right, now let's move on. Okay, so let's go down to our code. So previously we did something on, I showed you how to escape using, I showed you how to escape characters, escape using the function MySQL real escape string. Okay, so let's move on to the encrypt. Now using the encrypt password, we are going to be using what we call a crypt function. Okay, so let's go back to our, let me quickly explain what that is. So just go down to php.net. okay, go down to php.net. all right, and you will find this function.crypt.php. okay, so you're going to find this right here. So we're going to be using the crypt function to actually encrypt our password and make it more stronger. Okay, now the crypt will create a combination of characters, okay, but it will create something kind of not so strong, okay, something weak. Okay, using the crypt function is going to create something it will create the function, but it won't be that very strong. Okay, now we're going to add a parameter called sort. Okay, if you add the sort parameter, okay, it will make the password more stronger. Okay, it makes sure that this password is stronger and it gives you a better security. All right, the reason why I know this is because I read through the documentation, and I'm sure that when you read through the documentations that we have here, you will understand better what I'm trying to say. Okay, now let's move on. Now there are so many formats that we, the crypt actually support. Okay, so you can use this std.ds, std, that's des. You can use the extds, you can use the md5, you can use blowfish, you can use sha256, you can use sha512. Okay, 512. So the one we're going to be using for the course of this lecture is crypt blowfish. All right, we're going to be using blowfish because it's kind of it gives you a very tight, very tight format when encrypting a password. All right, now let's move down to let me explain to you what we mean by that. Okay, now the standard DES, this is how the password is going to look like. Okay, this is how the password. So we're going to use, in the standard DES, you use what we call the arrow. Okay, so the extended DES, we use this. So the MD5, this is how it's going to look. Okay, you use this. Now the blowfish, this is how the blowfish is going to look like. And very importantly, when you're using the blowfish, you have to have it has to be 22 characters. You're going to pass in 22 characters into the blowfish. All right, and they have the sha256 and they have the sha512. all right, so basically we use md5. Okay, let's come down. Now this is how the output is going to look like. The standard DES is going to look like this. That's when the password has been encrypted already. This is how the result is going to look like. All right, so the standard DES is going to look like this. The MD5, this is how it's going to look like. The blowfish is going to look like this. Okay, so you see that it's really long. Now the sha256 is going to look like this. Okay, it's really long. Now this one, is so very long, and it's really a very good one to actually use it. So the MD5, basically we use it in WordPress. On WordPress sites, yes, WordPress sites actually use the MD5. Okay, so the blowfish, you can actually use the blowfish. So government actually uses the sha256. Okay, so it's really long for governmental stuff, website and application. They use that. All right, so and also it the version of PHP that we are actually using is another important requirement. Okay, so we're using a very latest version. All right, so if you want to check your version, just come down to localhost. Okay, so localhost / dashboard, then go to PHP info. You're going to see the version of PHP that you're actually working with. So we have version 8.1.6. so that's the version that we are actually working with. Okay, so let's move on to our code and let me show you how this is actually done. Now follow my lead. Now let's go back to our code. So the first thing we are going to do here, we are going to have a variable. Let's give it hash all right, so we have hash formats. Okay, let's put an H here. Okay, now the format we are going to be using, let's go back to that and let me show you something. So we are going to be using this particular format, $2y. Okay, all right, the reason why we use this is because it's a new hash. Okay, and it's a more stronger, it's more stronger than the every other hashes that we have there. So we're going to use the $2y hash. Okay, so it's a new hash and it's way more stronger than every other ones that we have there. All right, now we're gonna let me copy that. Sorry, let me copy that so you can have that. So I'll copy and come back here and paste it. Okay, and the other thing we are going to have here, we're going to put 10. Okay, The reason why we are having 10 is that it will tell the script how many times it will run the hash. So I want to run this particular hash 10 times. That's what is going to be having, that's what's going to be that's what's going to be happening anytime we put in a password. So it's going to run it 10 times. Okay, so the 10 is going to run it 10 times. So very, very important that you know that. Okay, so you are telling the script how many times that you want that particular hash to run, and we are running it 10 times. So 10 times more stronger. Okay, so it will be really it will be hard for any attacker to actually decrypt what we have, the password that we have going into this particular application. So let's put a semicolon right there. So the next thing we are going to be having now, we're going to create a variable for salt. Okay, so just follow my lead. Now there are 22 characters that we're going to be passing into this salt here. So I'm just going to be, I just put something down. I'm going to use some crazy, I use some what am I writing? I use some crazy strings, all right, and put 22. So put a semicolon. Very importantly, it must be 22 characters. So let's count this: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 and 22. Very importantly, it must be 22 characters. All right, now let's move on and let's create another variable, and let's say hash underscore and salt. So we're going to bring in those two together. Okay, so we have here the hash format. All right, so hash format dot salt. Okay, all right, so we bring them together, all right, using the concatenating the both of them. All right, now the last thing we are going to have here, we're going to use a variable. Okay, so whenever it's when the result of that comes, so we're going to be passing it somewhere. So we say encrypt. Let's just put encrypt underscore password. All right, so we are going to have the crypt function. Okay, all right, we create a parenthesis. All right, so two parameters will be passed in here. Okay, so we're going to pass in the password, all right, comma, so we have the hash and salt. Okay, so two parameters will be passed in here. So the crypt function, we're going to, because we are dealing with the password. Okay, so we're going to be having the password pass in there and the hash and salt variable pass in there as the second parameter. All right, so basically let's take this off. Let's just leave it as password, because we are actually passing password into the database. So if we put the encrypt password, we will have to change this. Okay, so we don't need to do that. All right, so let's just put password as a variable. So when the program is reading it from the top to the bottom, it goes all the way, and everything that we have here is passed into this password variable. Then it goes in here and send it to the database. Okay, so that is all that we are going to be doing. So we're going to be testing this program, this code that we have written here. We're going to be testing it. So let's make sure that semicolons are well put, are well stated there, and let's check that out. All right, so let's go and do something with that. So we'll go back to our create, and let's reload. Okay, so I'm just going to be having Patrick. Let's put Patrick Dayvid. All right, now I'm going to put the password 123. Okay, so submit. All right, now let's go to our database and check that out. All right, let's go check it. Okay, we have an error here. So let's go back and see what that is. Alright, let's check where we have that error. Okay, so we have an error from our code. Okay, so we have this Patrick David is not giving us the right stuff. So let's go back, let's check that out. Okay, so I use, okay, this is okay, this is okay. Yeah, our code is quite alright as format. Okay, we omitted a dollar sign here, so there have to be a dollar sign closing the times that you have this repeated. Okay, how many times you have you will want the hash. So you know, we need to put a dollar sign at the end of this. So let's go check it out. Let's go check it out again. Okay, so I'm just gonna put in Patrick David another. Okay, so here I'm gonna have 1, 2, and 3. Okay, then we submit the record. So record created. So we go down to our code and let's go reload that again. Okay, so you see that our password has been encrypted, and you see that there are so many characters that we have right here. Okay, so this is how it actually happens. So if I click down here on this, okay, so you see that the characters are much. Okay, there are so many. Okay, so making it very hard for attackers to actually attack this particular password. All right, so that is how to actually encrypt this password. Okay, that's how to encrypt the password. All right, so and we made use of the create blowfish. Okay, so that is how it actually works. All right, so we have all these formats that we have stated here. This is the format that we use, the blowfish format. Okay, this is what actually gives us what we did right now. We use the blowfish format, so you can use the SHA-256. Okay, so this the procedure to actually use this is quite different, and you can use any one of these formats. The MD5 basically used for by WordPress, and it's really popular in WordPress sites. So that is all you need to know. So if you're having issues and you're having problem in doing this, you can always go back to the lecture and get the right stuff, and you are good to go. So that is all that we're going to be doing in this format, in this particular course, and I'll be seeing you in our next video. Okay, just stay glued. I'm going to be bringing something, a lot of things that you're going to be benefiting from. Okay, so just stay glued to the channel, subscribe, click the notification button, and you're going to be seeing new projects, and you're going to be learning a lot from those projects. All right, thank you for your time, and I'm sure you had value. You had value in this video, and what you just did do for me, just subscribe, and you get notified on my next video. All right, thank you for your time, and bye for now.